All right, so yeah, POIs verbally, and my speech will start now. Judge, listen. This is like here's proposition's motive. Neglect people, and we as technical experts will reach our goal. This is a debate in which side can actually benefit the post-revolutionary states more. Because by benefiting here, we mean that the country has a better chance of reformation, the country is ruled with the best decision making, and the country that is able to include every single person in the transformation of the country. Because our side does it better since we believe in the collective benefit of all and not just those who hold significant power. So first, before coming to the clashes, we'll tackle some clarification we want to make. What exactly is considered effective policymaking? We have made this super clear, and we believe that despite politicians, whether they're technical experts, academicians, engineers, etc., all of those things are required in effective policymaking, such as requires public engagement, democratic debate, and it's not just about expert opinions, but about what people think. Because we believe that if experts just base solely on the surface without looking at the bigger picture, they fail to make effective policy. And what do people living under a revolutionary state actually want? Because when it comes to this kind of debate, we need to look on both sides on what do the people actually want and why does it matter. We will also explain more on this in the clashes. So for people, they want a reform that benefits their quality of life and the people surrounds them. They want to live in a community where politicians and the people hold power, which prioritize their needs. And sure, proposition can go on how people have different needs, and we can't just do things that suit their needs all the time. This is completely wrong since democracy also means collecting ideas from representatives, people who collect ideas and give them to the government based on what people actually think. So now coming to clashes, we believe that there are a couple of clashes we'd like to tackle in this debate. The first one is on technocracy versus democracy. The second is on which side has more positive impacts on people and on post-revolutionary states. And lastly, which side actually allow freedom of expression among the people. So first of all, the first one is on technocracy versus democracy. What do the propositions say in this? First of all, they say that we need unity and voting is not the answer. They also say that experts make changes. They have studied this for years, and politicians just basically know little but democracy and diplomacy, and they also say that technocracy are based on facts and not feelings. Well, on our side, we have said this very clearly, and we told you what actually happens when those academicians, engineers, and scientists hold the main power to make these decisions. Note that these kinds of people hold power and specialize in one specific field, which means that if you are like a billionaire, you're probably specializing in specific field, like Elon Musk specialized in technology, etc., or in other kind of field. So basically, they don't have the full scope of what a post-revolutionary country is actually going through because they only specialize in one specific field. How can you expect a scientist to make decision for the whole entire country who is facing economic crisis or other kinds of problem which a post-revolutionary state is facing? And notice that those are technical experts and they specialize in one field. And even if they are able to make decisions, propositions can't make sure that their policies and regulations aligns with the people under those countries, because proposition may say things like the policy that those technical experts give out are based on people's needs. This is wrong, and we'll explain why. First of all, we have made it very clear that technical experts, they approach the problem, like you guys said, purely data driven. They base their solutions and their policy from facts or like efficiency maximizing perspective. However, we believe that what is actually technically best or optimal does not always align with what is actually the people desire or whether it is actually feasible when it comes to solving those problems. For example, an economist, maybe they think that now we need to help the country's economy. They might think that removing subsidies will probably reduce the government debt, but this could actually harm the citizen, especially when they're low income, who actually rely on those subsidies from the government itself. Or for example, this, unlike the officials, unlike politicians, and unlike elected officials, technical experts, they're sometimes they're not directly held accountable for their action or accountable to the public. So their policy or their regulations may be influenced just by models, just what they think is best, or just what they think is efficient based on their field without actually looking at the bigger picture and looking at the people really want. Before I move on, I'll take that POI quickly. Okay, again, with all of this needs and wants, we make sure that we'll explain this, and I don't think we have stressed this enough, but moving on to our next clashes, on which side actually has more positive impacts on the people. Now we'll tackle this. You say that people want doesn't matter. If they're dying, it's better for them to get a house, not a toy. This is where proposition is wrong. This is not a matter of getting citizens what they want, but more on asking for consent and caring for your citizen by asking for their opinion. Because take an example, a building like a building in the middle of the village. Of course, this would help enhance the city and improve infrastructure. However, just because an expert believes it is good for the city, it improves the country's economy, it doesn't necessarily mean building that would benefit the people surrounding them. So this means asking for people's opinion and permission is good, since people we believe that have the right and can easily be affected by the noise, or their houses can potentially be destroyed. So we believe that people actually have the right to know what is happening in their lives, and they should have their voices when it comes to problems relating to their lives and their country. This is not about getting what they want, but it's more on how asking them how do they feel about these problems and what should we do to make the best decision. And we'll move on further how people's opinion will potentially reform a country both economically and politically. So which side actually allow more freedom of expression among the people? Because why are people's opinions so important, and why we have stresses this throughout this entire debate? Because we believe that a reform will only happen effectively when it is the work of both the public and the government. Because technical expert, we believe here, only acts as an advisor and don't have enough incentives to potentially make policies to direct the whole population. And we believe that as an average person living in a post-revolutionary country, my voice is mattering when it comes to where I'm going to live and matter the government are facing to solve the country. And this can potentially help transform a country both economically and politically, because people's voices allow the expert and the government to understand and know what's best for the country. If you just make a decision by solely looking at the problem faced level, like if you make a decision, like you see that, oh, there's not enough food and you try to import more food, without actually diving deeper into what problem is really about, you risk hurting your country as a whole. And technical expert, as we have explained, about like first of all, they only look at the problem from what is going on and what is in their field and what is going on in the media, but don't actually fully understand the scope of the problem. If you see people facing poverty, it's better to know why they face poverty in the first place. It's better to know how they feel about this instead of just actively helping them without knowing what's the true problem. So very proud to oppose.